Hello, it's Quillo, and I have guidelines this time. This video is a little later than it was supposed to be, but just so you guys know, Jesslyn had her baby, and that's why it was late. Everything just got really busy. But anyway, today I'm going to talk about some of the other realms in Layer 1. The two main realms in Layer 1 are Otherville and Dream World. I don't know if anyone else thinks of them as the main realms, but to me they are the main ones because that's where the most people live, like NPCs. If you don't know, in a DID system, NPCs are like alters that are part of the environment and not actually parts of the personality. I think that makes sense. Like they don't come out, they just exist to give the world more details or to be in a world friends and acquaintances with some of the alters. And our system NPCs are kind of tricky because there are some people that they're really detailed and developed. Like they're usually those ones are alters, friends, and family, but they can still just be NPCs. And then sometimes there are people who we think are just really detailed NPCs, and then they come into the home space, but they get a bed there, and then it turns out they're actually alters, and they have some kind of bigger role in the system. Like Alan. We just thought he was Jesslyn's friend, but then he came to the home space after the baby got here, and then he came to the home space and now he has a bed and two roles in the system. We didn't even know about it. So yeah, he's one of those. We thought he was an NPC and he's really a whole alter. Anyway, now that I explained about NPCs, I should probably get into just talking about those two realms already. Otherville is basically like the inner world version of the outer world. Did I really write that? Otherville is the inner world version of the outer world. That's more confusing than Little's in the middle. Anyway, what I mean is like, it's like a copy of the real world. So it has the same rules as this world. Like it also has the same states and countries and towns. And for like towns and places that we don't know very much about, well, if there are towns that we don't know exist, obviously it doesn't have them. And if it's towns we don't know very much about but we've heard of, then it's just kind of like how our brain imagines those places to be like. But it doesn't have like another version of our outer world house in there. Some places that we know super well, it has a mirror of them. A mirror is what we call an exact copy of an outer world place in the inner world. We have that with the summer camp we went to as kids, a movie theater we really like, some parks. Most of the mirrors are based on places that were happy for the system as a child. It also has mirrors of some people. Not like introjects, but like NPCs of famous people. Mirrors of celebrities, so, well, not past presidents that are dead, just past presidents that are still alive. And when they were president, they were a mirror of them that was the president. Like, just anyone who's famous and in the news, there's a mirror of them who's also famous and in the news. So that when we're there, it feels like it's in the same world, in the same timeline. But there's not mirrors of like other people we know in the outer world, only like famous people. So it's kind of like this world but without the people, I guess. So we go there and we won't run into people we know, but we can accept people that we meet there. I don't know how to explain it. There's a lot of people in this world that we don't feel safe around or that make us uncomfortable. So I guess when we go there, it's like having the same world and the same environment, you know? And the same things in the news, so it doesn't feel like you're in a whole different universe. You just don't have to run into any of the people who you don't want to run into. there's also celebrities in Otherville that don't exist out here. So like there are famous people in Otherville that there aren't out here. And it's funny because sometimes there are people in the headspace, people in the home space who are from Otherville or go to Otherville a lot, and they don't realize that the celebrity in Otherville isn't a mirror, and they think that they have it in the outer world too, and then they find out that it's just an Otherville celebrity and they're so shocked. Some alters who have been here a long time have backstories. Their backstories are really just their lives in the inner world. A lot of those lives happened in Otherville. Basically, so like for alters that have been here a long time, when they weren't out in the body, they were living lives in the inner world. Not all of them. Some of them were like unconscious. Some of them were living lives in the inner world. And before there was the home space, or before they had access to the home space, they would be living their own lives with their own families and stuff like that when they weren't out. And a lot of them were in Otherville. Some were in Dream World. Jake and Danny had a whole bunch of other ones, grew up in Otherville before they understood they were alters and started living in the home space. Some alters also grew up in Dream World. Danny spent a lot of times in both places. So did Jake, but Danny spent even more time in Dream World. That's because Danny and Jake, they were both born in Otherville, but they had another best friend when they were growing up. I'm not going to talk about him too much because it's kind of a sore subject now, but basically the short version is Danny and Jake grew up in Otherville. They had a friend who was in Dream World, so they went to visit him there sometimes, and he visited them in Otherville. And then when Danny was 14, he moved to Dream World, so he knows a lot about both places. I don't have a backstory because I haven't been here that long, and I don't remember any kind of past life in the inner world. When I was here, I just remember being in, well, that's a different part of the inner world that I won't talk about in this video, but I don't really have a backstory or like a family that I grew up with or any past life or anything that was going on because I wasn't here that long. I only know about these realms from when I visited. I've been to Otherville a lot. I go to the park there when the other kids go since I don't have any parents yet. Well, I don't know why I said yet because I don't know if anyone wants to adopt me or not, but anyway. I go there a lot to go to the park. I go there a lot to go to the park. Some grown-up alters like to go to like the bar there and in Dream World. And Dream World, I only went there twice with Angel and Jake. Not once with Angel, once with Jake, but I went twice and it was with Angel and Jake both times. So I don't know it that well. The reason I went with Angel and Jake is because Jake spent a lot of time there too. So, because of his friend that he visited. So he kind of is in that kind of culture, and since Angel's 13 now, he wants her to start to be in that kind of culture if she wants to, and she does want to, or she's deciding if she wants to, so he's taking her there, and he took me too, because I kind of, well, like I said, I don't have any parents, so I don't have anyone to take me and do things like that, so sometimes the other parents take me with them when they do stuff with their kids, but not every time, obviously, because then they wouldn't get any alone time with their kids. Anyway, but I can explain what it's like, but then I'm gonna have someone who grew up there explain it to you better because I don't know that much about Dream World since, like I said, I only went to it 2 times. So, Dream World is smaller than Otherville, but it's still a big realm because it's one of the 2 big ones or the 2 main ones, like I said earlier. It has politics and stuff, like its own kind, but I don't really understand all that stuff. And it has magic. I don't really know how that works exactly. Some people have it and some people don't. And there are mythical creatures. And the food there is really weird. And I thought it would be like Harry Potter World, but it's not really. Maybe a little, but there's no wands or brooms. And there are some alters who live there who we thought were NPCs, but they were actually alters. And sometimes they come visit us in the home space, but they don't have beds there because they have their own homes in Dream World. They can come out in the body, but they're busy, so they don't do it very much. But anyway, now I will let Jude talk because he's from Dream World. Bye! God, why does it look dark in here? So, I'm Jude. I've never made a video on this channel before, so if I fuck up, if it's dumb, just forgive me for that. I don't know why they picked me to explain this, because there's others who also are from Dreamworld, or like Danny could have explained it just as well, Robin could have explained it just as well, Damsel could have explained it just as well, but whatever. I guess it's basically like, yes, there's magic, but it's not like casting spells. I mean, there are spells, but it's not, that's not the main thing. Like, you can learn spells, but not everybody's good at them. And if you're not good at them, it doesn't matter that much, because that's not really what you're in pursuit of. And people don't go around killing each other with magic. Like, it's not like, I mean, not that that's what Harry Potter was, but I mean, only really bad people, I guess, did that. And I guess people do. So I guess it's kind of, anyway, I'm getting off topic. Power traits are the thing. So I guess it's kind of like having a superpower, but they don't call it a superpower. They call it a power trait. And when you're 14, you find out what your power trait is, typically. Some people kind of know what is going to be earlier. Like, you can kind of have a feeling, you can kind of get hints of it when you're younger. But when you're 14, you go through all the testing, and that's when you're allowed to fully discover it. Some people know from a young age what their power trait is going to be. Others don't. I knew. Mine, I can talk to animals. That's what my power trait is. I knew that when I was younger, because I've always been able to. Like, I've always been able, not as much as I can now. And power traits do not work in other parts of the inner world, or the outer world, obviously. I can't do that out here. But, like, I can't go to Otherville and talk to animals. I can only do it in Dreamworld. There is a power trait called transferal, which means that you can do magic and have your power trait outside of Dreamworld, because some people have more than one power trait. Very few people have more than two. So some people get shit luck and have transferal by itself and don't have another power trait. So basically they can do spells outside of Dreamworld, but they can't, like, ideally if you have transferal, it would go along with, like me, if I had transferal along with being able to talk to animals, then I can talk to animals in any part of the inner world. But if you have transferal and you don't have another power trait, it's just like, hey, I can do magic tricks and spells and shit. And then those people get shit on and made fun of a lot, because it's kind of like, oh, you basically don't have a power trait then, right? Kind of feel bad for them. Anyway, that's way off topic, but yeah, that's what power traits are. Some people have two. I don't. I'm just, average. People who are born in Dreamworld, they will have a power trait pretty much. Some people get them late. I'm sure there have been cases of people not getting them at all, but I can't think of any. Like, I don't know anyone who hasn't gotten them. I know a couple people who got them a little after 14. But if you grow up in, like, Otherville, and then you spend a lot of time in Dreamworld, it is still possible for you to develop a power trait if you spend a lot of time there before the age of 14. If you spend a lot of time there after you're 14, you're not going to get a power trait. You can't, like, once you hit that age, you can't, because it has to develop before the age of 14. So, like, that's why Jake and Danny have power traits, because they spent a lot of time in both places. And I think that's why Jake is taking Angel there, because he wants her to have that option. Now that she's 13, he wants her to have that option before it's too late. If she spends enough time there, she has the potential of that happening for her too. So that's what power traits are. There are mythical creatures there too, or what are mythical here. They're not mythical there. They're just creatures. So there's like dragons. I mean, pretty much anything you can think of as a mythical creature. Maybe not everything, but most things are there. Some of them are intelligent and are seen as basically human. Some of them are seen as animals. And it all kind of comes down to, do they have a language that they communicate with? And do they build societies and stuff like that? Or are they like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, some of them are seen as like, oh, these are kind of like dogs and cats. And some of them are seen as like, oh, these are just basically another society like humans. It sounds kind of fucked up if you don't know. I really don't know how to explain it to you, and I don't want to get into it because I don't want people to be like, that's really messed up, because it's not very different from how things work here. It just sounds different when you try to explain it. The politics in Dreamworld, I really don't want to get into it because it's very nuanced and it's very hard to explain. It would take multiple videos. But it's different than it is it's different than it is in at least the United States, and I would assume anywhere else in the world, considering it involves magic. But there are 6 leaders that are equally in power with each other. And they need to fulfill certain types of magic to be one of the leaders. Like you don't want all the leaders to have the same power trait. And it kind of keeps the system of when you're 14 getting your magic and all that going. And you know, economically, I'm not very smart. I don't know much about the economy and how all of that works. And so I'm not going to really try and explain that. Probably Jake or someone else. Well, I don't know, because Jake didn't grow up there, but I'm sure someone else would be better at explaining that. But like I said, that would take multiple videos trying to get into that. It's just a lot. It's a lot, and it's not really relevant. Just know that the political system is incredibly different there than it is in the United States. And because of the magic, probably in the rest of the world. The food and the music, like, the culture is very, very different. It's kind of like a country. Whereas Otherville is like a whole world. Dreamworld is like a country. And that sounds kind of misleading because Dreamworld has world in the name. So you would think that was a bigger place. And that Otherville sounds like a villa or like a little town would be just that. No, Otherville is bigger and it's basically a whole world. And Dreamworld is more like a country. It has its laws, it has its rules, it has its political system and way of doing things. It has its culture. So if you come from Dreamworld like I did, and you come into the home space like I did, I'm not going to go into how all of this happened for me. Maybe if I do an introduction video. I don't know if I will or not. But when that happens, you go from a very specific way of living, a very specific food, music, just culture overall. And then you go to the outer world, or Otherville even, because they're very similar and all of that. It's a very big culture shock. Like, the first time that I went out to eat somewhere in the outer world, I was like, this food is so weird. It's just very different. So, I don't know if I even added much of anything that is useful or very much different from what Quillo already told you, to be honest, but I tried. So again, I don't know why the fuck they decided I should be the one to do it. But yeah.